Let's talk football right now. It's been an extraordinary afternoon of action today. And the final game with Newcastle United seemingly cruising it. Van Dijk had already been sent off. They were 1-up. But you know what, with Nunez, whatever you say, the man can finish. His 2 goals gave Liverpool, perhaps in the end, a surprise win at Newcastle United by 2-1. Steve Wraith, NUFC matters, of course it does. And Slim Williamson, Anfield South podcaster, both with me right now. Sorry, gentlemen, that it's been a few minutes before I wanted to come to you, but I had to get off a couple of stories. I'm not going to let any of these people get away with anything. Certainly not ex-top referees in this country saying he didn't make a decision because the referee had had a bad time from fans and he was his mate. We might come back to that later. Oh, I felt for you today, Steve, because at one stage you were in total control.
Yes, we were. Liverpool have quickly become Newcastle United's bogey team under Jurgen Klopp, unfortunately. And you have to go back to the days of Steve McLaren to find a Newcastle victory at St James's Park against a Liverpool team. But I think, in essence, we only had ourselves to blame, Saggers, because we were 1-0 up, and then Van Dijk sent off. And for I think most Newcastle fans, we felt that in another day, on another game, maybe Alexander-Arnold would have gone. I'm not saying it would have been right, but if the luck had been going our way, Liverpool could have found themselves down to 9 men. But I think we had that, what I call Stockholm Syndrome again at St James's Park, which we thought had long disappeared, but it's still there. And in that second half, when Newcastle were hanging on to that lead and Liverpool were starting to press, it was always going to be about the substitutions. And that's where Liverpool won the game, and that's where Newcastle lost it. Because I felt that Newcastle's best players on the day were Anthony Gordon and Sandro Tonali. Both of them were taken off, and I just felt that Newcastle lost their stranglehold a little bit on the game. And then Liverpool brought on their substitutes, and Nunez, as you've rightly pointed out, stole the show. And the difference between the two teams in the second half, Liverpool took their chances, Newcastle didn't, and we're left to lick our wounds. And Jurgen Klopp quite rightly celebrated with the Liverpool fans at the end, much to our dismay, because there is a bit of a needle, I think, between certainly Eddie Howe and Jurgen Klopp and the various backroom staff. But it is what it is. We lick our wounds, we move on.
Well, look, well said on all of that, Steve. Slim, from your point of view, the first goal, okay, he might have got lucky in a position where it bounced off the Newcastle United defender, but that's as good a finish under pressure you'll see, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think Nunez has had his stick over the last season or so about some of his touches and his finishing. But yeah, he came on and showed what he's capable of doing. But I'm just glad that the game was won by us, because I think had we have not won the game, we'd be having a different conversation again about refereeing decisions. Because I think whilst it was a foul on Isak by Van Dijk, a red card for me was the wrong thing to do. I think the refereeing rules have become so unclear to the point where I don't think I understand football at the moment, because I'm not sure what's a clear goal scoring chance. I'm just unsure as to everything, the handballs, everything. Every year they bring these rules in and they try to make it better, but they just make it worse.
Yeah.
And then we've got VAR who don't seem to do a good enough job. I mean, anyone can see that's not a red card. It's definitely a foul. 100%. I agree it was a foul. But what are they telling defenders, that you can't make a tackle for fear of it being a goal scoring opportunity? Well, you're just sucking life out of the game.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is the new rules when it comes to the actual foul like that, the foul if you're attempting to make a ball, to get the ball and make a tackle, even if the referee decides it was a foul, you shouldn't now be sent off. I thought that was the new rule. You would only get a yellow card from that, and then they're going to say it was the last man and all that sort of. But these rules are there to confuse us now, because the whole of the game. Day by day at the moment in the Premier League, I feel for all you fans of all you clubs is that our game's being taken away from us in so many different ways, Yeah,
100%. I agree. It's the standard has got to be set. I mean, I don't think we had these kind of issues with refereeing back in, the 80s when I was born, in the 90s. The refereeing was never the focus of the game. It was all about the game. But now, lately, since how long ago, every game we're talking about refereeing decisions, VAR, they got this wrong, they got that wrong, and then there's things rescinded and taken away and stuff like that. It's ruining the game. But like I said, going back to the football, I think Newcastle threw that one away. When I saw Anthony Gordon come off the pitch, I for one was relieved. I mean, he had the beating of Trent. Once Trent got the yellow card, I don't understand what Eddie Howe was doing there, but I thank you very much, Eddie Howe. I'll take that. And yeah, we just had to defend for our lives and take our chances when they came, and thank goodness Nunez was on form today.
Yeah, no, that was great from that point of view. Steve, you were sort of nodding as well here. I mean, all clubs get their moments, and decisions go against us fans. I mean, it happens to everybody. It does. It doesn't just happen to those that are struggling at the time. It always seems to feel that way, doesn't it? If it's our club, but I think certainly something needs to be sorted out. Over so many things now, it nearly feels to me as if the television companies, together with the refereeing, together with other bits and pieces, have tried to make this soap opera more than just about the football. But it's actually about the football, and winning and losing is what the fans want to go for, not this sort of spurious audience who doesn't actually care for the game.
Yeah, it's really spoiling the game for fans, and that's the big problem that we have with the new rules. Nobody understands them. That they're not clear, and ultimately for the referees and the VAR officials, it's clearly those guys who don't understand them either. And if they can't understand them, what chance have we got? But I would agree. Look, the penalty, the free kick, and the sending off of Van Dijk today, it can be interpreted in two different ways. You can look at it and say, was it a goal scoring opportunity? Was Isak going through? Well, we don't know, because he didn't get a chance to touch the ball because Van Dijk took his legs away. But then, you could say in the old way, back in the old days, that would have been given as a sending off. So I mean, it's so confusing, as you say. It's because now referees are almost the stars of the show as well. And I think my first real encounter with this was when Alan Shearer was sent off by Uriah Rennie at St James's Park. Yeah. He became the first celebrity referee, and everybody was talking about him, and he had a life away from the pitch, and he was being focused in a lot of the glotty magazines. And I think it all started there, but it certainly started with the Premier League. It's because it's high profile. There's that many cameras now, and they should just leave the rules alone. You're right, Saggers, are taking it away from the fans. They're spoiling it for supporters. And why is it that we can watch the Women's World Cup and we can hear VAR officials making a decision, the referee's mic'd up, and she can tell us exactly what is going on, yet in the Premier League, which is supposed to be the best league in the world, we haven't got a clue what's going on at some grounds, especially St James's Park. We've only got one screen, and not everybody can see it. And if there's a VAR decision, we don't get told that there's a VAR decision, and everyone's scratching their heads wondering what's going on. It's a sad indictment of modern day football in England at the moment. Yeah,
and it's disgusting, because basically what that's saying is we can't accept that you as fans will behave yourself if we tell you why we've made that decision and it was the wrong one, which is absolute rubbish.
Yeah, and you hear Mike Dean. I heard your opening gambit at the start of the programme, and I fully agree with you. That interview was so enlightening, and I do believe that VAR should be suspended with immediate effect until things are sorted out. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, thank you for that, because I think it's very important that we continue to put pressure. It's sort of been swept under the carpet now. It was all a bit of a mistake and a bit of this and a bit of that. If this had been, any other league, Slim, in the country, where Mike Dean said, I didn't send Anthony Taylor to go and change or look at the monitor to see if he's going to change his decision because he'd already had taken too much stick or whatever like that. If another country had done that, we'd have said, it's wrong.
Yeah, we're very hypocritical like that in this country when it comes to our football. You know, we look down our noses at other leagues that do certain things, and when things happen in our own backyard, we're not quick enough to act. And yeah, I agree with you too as well. Like, Mike Dean should face action for that, and VAR should be suspended, because now we can't trust it. How do we know the next decision that's happening isn't, oh, I'm letting him off, it's my mate? And, you know, this is football, and football is for the fans. And when you start ruining it for the fans, then something has to be done. They're taking a beautiful game away from us. So you alluded to something earlier. It's like a theatre performance, and the referees are taking centre stage, and that's not what I want to see when I switch on my TV to watch a game.
No. And the important thing about sport, but particularly our great game of football, is that we don't know the ending until the end. Very unlike.
Yeah.
You can go to the theatre to watch all the acting you want, and you perhaps do know the end of it. But football, we never know the end, and that's what it's got to stay like. Both of you, two teams. I'll start with you, Steve. You feel you've got enough so far to feel that you are going to be part of worrying some of these greater sides, as they like to think of themselves, that you might get in the way of one or two again this season?
Yeah, this is going to be a tough season for us because, you know, first of all, expectation levels have risen after Newcastle finished fourth last year. But the qualification for Europe and, of course, finishing in, you know, the Champions League positions is going to put extra pressure on us. And you know, as always, it's down to suspensions and injuries and what cards you're dealt throughout the season. I'm still confident Newcastle will finish in a European slot. Do I think they'll finish in the Champions League spot again? I think a lot of that depends on how well they do in the Champions League and how well they do in the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. I think Newcastle's focus will be, of course, to finish as high as they possibly can, but also to get that elusive trophy, because, you know, we have to remember that, you know, we are only a sleeping giant at the minute. We might be reawakened, but we haven't won a trophy since 1969 or a domestic trophy since 55. So we need really to get our first notch on the bedpost, if you pardon the expression. Mm-hmm. And once we've done that, I think we can really start talking about competing with the other teams. But I genuinely think, Saggers, that we'll do okay this season, but I don't think we'll finish as high as fourth.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. But you've got such a lot to come this season because of the great work from the team and from the manager, Eddie Howe, and everybody involved as well. Liverpool, we would have been talking perhaps about one or two other different things if you hadn't gone on to win this game today, but you did. And you just got a sense now with that sort of win for Liverpool that the energy is back.
Yeah, definitely. And I hope this kicks us on for the rest of the first part of the season, because it counts for nothing if we go into the next game and we don't get maximum points. But yeah, I think we're still lacking some stuff at Liverpool. I think we need a centre back. As you can see, Van Dijk gets sent off and we're reduced to bringing on, you know, no disrespect, Gomez, who's not the greatest centre back we have, and then a young boy in Quansah. So we definitely still need a centre back. I think we are lacking another midfielder as well. My ad Tonali today was great, and that's a great signing for Newcastle, and I think he's going to help you a lot. But yeah, if we can, in the last however long left in the transfer window, bring in 2 more players, then I'd say, yeah, we should be back to our best. But even without those signings, I think we can still be like trouble Man City for the title again this season.
Slim, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for being with us, and for you, Steve, as well. There we are, Liverpool, Newcastle. Terrific start with our people who really follow the game properly, as we are going to be talking to others throughout